Um, so yeah, so it has to be a team effort. Now, I do have this idea on my own where I'm going to try to do my software and get that going with the map, and then the map for free and up there, and maybe enough of a demo to help justify and motivate a Kickstarter, or maybe my wife and I'll try to just do it. So I'm working on the map. The other candidate was this debate software, because even with my map thing, I worked on a player. It plays videos from YouTube and does the nested comment thing and stuff, all in the browser. My server doesn't know anything about that YouTube video, about the playing process or anything. But I also have the ability on the very same server to upload videos and play them with the HTML5 video tag player. Yeah. And I also can automatically upload that video. When you upload it to my site, it can automatically upload it to YouTube. Because those are the first basic things. I want to have my own video site, but I want to be able to play videos from YouTube, and for that matter, from any source, right? Including like some peer-to-peer service. Just give me the URL to that video and we'll play it. Okay. There's still a problem with that, is that it is imperative to me that you be able to seek in the video, right? You don't have to wait for the video to load the last 10 minutes to just seek. You can just click in the last 10 minutes, it'll start loading from there. That is a must. So my server could make sure that that happens. YouTube obviously can do that. Other servers can do that. The site itself, I'm okay if some of the videos don't allow seeking because they're on Gary's site. That could be Gary's problem, Gary's videos. As long as, like, I don't want to put up a site like that. And I already have it. I can already do that. I have the HTML or the HTTP streaming working. I decided not to go with that, and it's a flip of a coin kind of thing. But part of the problem, I have to admit, is if you imagine, well, I've done the math on that, and you basically, okay, I think $1 a month, but basically $2 a month to support a channel like mine. All the views and the data streaming and stuff. And most of that is the cost of the bandwidth, right? So if you could have a website that just did all the organization and the keywords and the ultimate database of what videos were out there, but the videos themselves were out there on the internet being streamed by everybody else, then you could do it for, I don't know, could probably do it a couple dollars a year or something. I mean, it's costing you a tenth of a penny per user for that kind of service. It's not a lot of storage. 100 megabytes can keep an awful lot of information about an awful lot of people. That's not a problem. The problem is that in videos, that might just be a couple videos. So streaming that and storing it and all that, it starts to add up quickly. But the real thing is, how do we do this for ourselves? I'm not greedy, quite the opposite. I'm a philosophy major, program because of my interest. A lot of things I've done, I wrote programs to number crunch the digits. I mean, things that spark me that I just did for myself, that scan for patterns in the prime numbers, and the origami, making the origami box and things like this. That's what interests me about this. Okay, I didn't do it to think to have a living. It was clear by the time I was 15 that there would be some living in it. But so I'm willing to do this kind of thing. But how are we going to get it going? People have to somehow take responsibility for it. I mean, I have to eat, and it would take me 6 months to make a video site with your basic features, going in the direction of not just tags, but proper tagging, and not just thumbs up, but thumbs up on, was it entertaining, was it informative, was it this, was it that, was it the other, notational, the beginning of notational features, a lot of stuff. I couldn't do the whole like battle drome or Robert's Rules of Order or all of that in 6 months, but we'd have something that as functional as YouTube, with better understanding of free speech, presumably, if that's the point of the community, and some extra features you don't see at YouTube, and it would be focused on conversation, not on reducing the quality of television broadcast even further to the Onision level. So how do you do that, though? Because right now, my skill is pretty rare. So the issue is, how do you do that? Because, my skill is pretty rare. I just stopped the video, so I'm not going to edit it, so I will have said that twice, but I accidentally stopped the video. But I'm expected to also have, like, Facebook skills and feel like I have time for Twitter. Well, I don't have a Twitter account. I have a Facebook account because there's so much family on there, and I still can't stand to use it. Now, that's a common skill, but I'm supposed to have those skills to get this shit together. Well, I think it's quite enough that I know how to make software plan and actually complete it and know how long it's going to take and things like that. That's not enough for the whole project, but it's a huge part that's hard to get. So how do we do this? Another thing is, I like co-ops. I don't want to own something I start necessarily at the group. My ideal situation would be somebody get their act together. Somebody knew how to promote things and stuff and had a good idea. They'd get their act together. They'd consult with me early on. But they'd get their act together and they'd define a Kickstarter. And the Kickstarter would have basically a specification of what's going to be built, for how much and how long. I would review that and sign off on it. And I guarantee, if I sign off on it, that I would do it. And the reason I feel like I can guarantee that is because what I do is I'll make my estimates for 40-hour week, and I will know when I'm falling behind, and I'll work 100-hour weeks if I have to. And now that I'm 45, that doesn't generally happen, except for right at a deadline. Even in ideal situations, it's actually fun. If, for a week or two, it's a little bit of programming really not late and getting things hammered through, but just for a week or two. And then we do it, and I'd work on that for 6 months. And to carry the ideal even further, it's like, it's not a really surefire way to make your income. And I don't know how you do benefits like healthcare and stuff like that. Yes, Obamacare. On the other hand, my kids are moved out and gone now, and I don't want to stay in Hawaii. And right now, it sounds fine. Yeah, you know what? I would take my chances on getting another Kickstarter every 6 months, just to keep making things that not some business degree graduate said would be good to make a lot of money on. But what I like about Kickstarter is it's things that people that might use or listen, or people that just think the idea is cool, they want to use it. They are the owners. I don't like the venture capital thing where the owners don't give a damn. They just want to get their money and get out of it so they can go do something else. I like Kickstarter, where it'd be like, they like to make a game. Oh, 6,000 people got together and they all, paid, from $5 to $250 to fund something. Oh dear, it's not going to make $1 billion. It's not going to be the number one game in the world, the popular game in the world. Why would we do that? Well, because those 6,000 people want to play it. And if you do it and the people play the game and they go, this is awesome, then it's success. That would be failure in a normal startup. In a normal startup, that would be abject failure. Yeah, they loved it. They said it was the best thing ever. Those 10,000 people love it, but only 10,000. So we need to go to a model where those 10,000 people pony up $10 each and $100,000, and they get what they wanted. You know, and if it is some big Grand Theft Auto, fine. Then 200,000 people pony up $20 each, and it's, you know, whatever that would be. 4 million. I don't know. I forget the numbers I used. And you could do games like that. And if you had a history of doing that well, then it seems like that would make the marketing easier to do. You know, and you could get people, you know, almost just to basically be pre-ordering software they were interested in. And I know I was just talking about games. I'm interested in various kinds of games, or actually internet toys, that, you know, pull in the internet. Like, you know, like I'd like to make a simulated downtown city street, you know, with the Grand Theft Auto quality of video games. But if a bank's getting robbed, it's because that today there's a news story of a bank getting robbed. You know, if there's you know, military on the street, it's because there's military on the street in you know, in Egypt or something. And that's where the simulated environment, how it's generated, and anything you click on, if you're curious, you can find out what caused it, and then you go back out into the world and into the net and find out what's going on. So that's my idea of games. Was I want to make online games in virtual environments that are generated from activity online, otherwise unrelated activity online. But I'm also want to do this conversational software. I've been doing it since I was 13 in text form, and it's missing some things I know that it's missing. The reason I did the map is because the map has a higher novelty, and I know from my experience in commercial software that that matters in getting things started and generating interest. I think there's 200,000 or more people that would want to use better vlogging and blogging as well, where it's easier to make annotations and cross-check and store opinions and rate in more than one dimension. But how do you collect those people, right? So the novelty of that kind of subject is hard to find the people that would go, oh, I could kind of see, but I'd like it this other way. And you have a big argument, it's harder to sell. The map, even if you don't do it the way people want, they're like, oh, I get the idea. And there's going to be a higher per capita novelty factor, so I think it's more likely to be able to kickstart. But once I have that, with my resources, if I had resources, just if I was a trust fund baby, I'd be making the debate software. I'd be making vlogging and blogging and forum software that supported the conversation, that as you had the conversation, it naturally created the history and charting of the history, so that if somebody came along 5 years later and was looking into antinatalism, and we've all died in the flood by then, so we're gone and the conversation has died, you know, that they would actually be able to get the same gist by looking through the record that we got by taking part in it. And I think that kind of software is a social good and social importance to improve the public conversation, especially among those of us that do it because we're interested, but we're not paid to do it. You know, academics have their tools and they struggle as well, but they have their tools and they're paid to do it. I want to help the people that are doing it because we're interested, we care, whether it's a hobby or we feel compelled or we want to make a career, whatever. I think it's a social good to do that, but I think it's harder to kickstart, right? So, yeah, I don't know how that all pieces together, because I know one thing. I know that, you know, people like TJ get some money and still can't put anything together. And that's the rule rather than the exception, right? It's very hard. People, you know, at the Daily Kos, the guy that worked on their software is like, we're going to make a whole new version. And that was years ago. It is not forthcoming. I know why that is. A lot of people that know how to program, they're still not going to be able to size up and do a project. So I know that I have a special skill to do these things, but I have to eat while I'm doing it. And I don't have to get a market rate, but I have to be able to live and keep gas in my car, and and it has to be enough that if my car breaks down, I can have someone fix it. If I have to spend all week fixing my own car, I've been there before in my life, then fine, that's fine, very good for you individually, but not working on software. I need to be able to have my car so I could go, to the store. So, how does this rate? Because, I think we have a disconnect. There's a big enough community to fund this. And by big enough, I mean, imagine everybody interested in the community gave $20. Okay, if you're really hard up, fine, that it's $5, and if you're not really hard up, then that 20. Just this idea of $20. It's noticeable, but you can do it. People find a time to do it. If everybody could give $20 a year, well, 5,000 people, that's $100,000 a year. Okay, so that's enough to pay for servers. That's enough to buy some art. That's enough to give a little bit to a lawyer to know this or that about some issue, and still you'll be able to pay a software engineer if he can work from his home, live in Maine, and have backup money that it won't get starved out. It won't be almost done, and for lack of the final $1,000, doesn't get done. That's a little bit close to the edge, it'd be better to be able to get $1 million so that you had 2 or 3 employees, and if somebody gets hit by a bus, or you can, or turns out this programmer isn't so good at that, and you can have somebody else do it. But on the minimal level, yeah, a lot of our ideas are not impossible if you find the right person that knows how to do it. Problem is, those people want $400,000 a year, and aren't necessarily interested in what you're interested in. But if you do a Kickstarter too, everything can be open source at the end. So it sounds like a great way to fill in all the open source, the niches, where there's not 100 million people that want it. There's 1 million, and that's more than enough to fund it, but there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between getting that funding in our advertisement-based consumer society to the developers. So, anyway, who knows? All right, cheers.